Hello, hello. Today we're going to talk about Saturn re-entering Pisces. Saturn, the planet of karma, time, hard lessons, and boundaries, comes back to the sign of the fish for the very last time on Monday, September 1st, and until February 13th, 2026. It will offer you the chance to complete old chapters, set essential boundaries, and find redemption. So I'm going to break this transit down as well as take it through all the 12 zodiac signs to see what it might mean for you. Before we dive in, thank you for being here. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, predictive readings. I also do electional astrology, helping you choose the perfect moment for starting your business, for getting married, other things, as well as locational astrology, figuring out best places in the world for you to live in. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been following me for a while and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Leave me a like, a comment. You can also, if you're watching this live, you can press the like button in the corner of your screen. That usually helps a lot. And you can also say thank you. There is a $sign button if you wanted to tip me. That is very much appreciated as well. Just wanted to mention a quick shout out to my natal astrology course that is only about 8 days away at this point. So for those of you that love self-improvement, that love knowledge and learning and love astrology, it is a great time to study and register and discover your karmic purpose, discover the secrets in your natal chart, unlock your potential. In order to register, you go to Anastasia Does Astrology services, and then in services, it's going to be at the top of the screen. There it is, Natal Astrology, Blueprint of the Soul. It's going to ask you whether you want to become my newsletter subscriber. And so there we are. Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul begins September 6th. You can learn more about what we'll be studying. The times are, we're meeting on Saturdays for 2 hours at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're meeting on Tuesdays for an hour to do. Saturdays will be dedicated to theory, and Tuesdays will be dedicated to practice, homework, and things like that. Say hello. Let me know your rising sign. Let me know where you're watching from. On my website, you can also book a reading, whatever your heart desires. You can check out my candle shop and all the lovely offerings I have there. So all of that, AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com. Thank you guys for watching and for being here. We have Jess with us, Capricorn rising. Good morning. SP, Leo rising. How exciting. So we have Saturn coming back to Pisces. Saturn first entered Pisces in March 2023, and it brought up important karmic questions in the in the Pisces section of your chart. In late May 24th, it has transitioned into Aries. I hope you can see my chart. Let's just see when that happened. May 24th. Well, basically, yeah. At the very end of May 24th, it went into Aries. And so since late May, we've had the entirety basically of like June, July, August, summer. We've had Saturn in Aries, and Saturn in Aries is about taking action. It's about being proactive, right? It's about finding balance between self-protection and self-preservation and being this active character. Also maybe dealing with some friction, some conflicts, and trying to find boundaries between taking on, like setting boundaries when it comes to your workload and how much you take on. Saturn went retrograde a couple of months ago. Let me tell you when. I think that would have been July 13th. So on July 13th, it went retrograde. And now on September 1st, so we are currently August 29. And then on September 1st, very early in the morning, about 4:06 a.m. Eastern time, September 1st. Oops. Give me a second. So there it is, September 1st, 4:06 a.m., Saturn comes back to Pisces. So this is the final Saturnian transit through Pisces. It will last between September 1st and February 13th. And it will take Saturn from 29 degrees 59 minutes Pisces all the way to 25:09 degrees 25 degrees 9 minutes Pisces. So it's especially important for anyone who has planets between 25 and 29 degrees mutable signs: Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Gemini. Because for you guys, and I am one of you guys as someone with my Venus at 28 degrees Virgo, so I would look at your planets, I would look at the angles, ascendant, descendant, midheaven, IC, even your north node and south node. Just check your chart and see if you have something between this 25, 29 degrees. So for you, it's especially important because you would have had one aspect from Saturn earlier this year, and now you're going to have another aspect while Saturn is retrograde, and then you'll have another aspect while Saturn is direct. So you're getting these important hits, and important karmic questions will be coming up. Okay, just checking with the chat. You guys were saying you can't see the screen, but now it's back. Okay, so it's working right now, right? Sorry, I don't know what happened. I hope it didn't last very long. Oh, maybe that happens if I switch from screen to screen, but hopefully it doesn't it doesn't affect things very much. Okay. So let me stop sharing for a second, just in case there are any issues with the screen. So degrees, we mentioned Saturn is retrograde until November 27th, and then it's direct in Pisces between November 27th and February 13th. My question for you is, do you remember what was happening in your life in March 2023? And how has Saturn affect the Pisces sector of your chart? If you know where that is for you, let me know. If you don't, when we get to the horoscopes, you will find out. But this is the opportunity to close the cycles that got started all the way in March 2023, complete some of those, some of those matters, and wrap things up. So what is Saturn in general? Saturn is the planet of hard work, boundaries, karma. Saturn is the planet that teaches us important lessons. It's not always the most gentle, but it is focused on stability and building structure in our life. Sometimes we have to go through difficulty and hardship in order to develop resilience. And Saturn is very much here to remind you of needing to build your own resilience. Okay, just a second. Hi, Flash Knowings. Hello, Myanmar. So when Saturn entered Aries on May 24th, it has brought up, like I said, a lot of new topics in the Aries sector of our chart. It has encouraged action. It has encouraged maybe more initiative, new projects, new ideas. Now that it returns to Pisces, some of those projects will slow down. And what are some of the things we're going to see generally when Saturn is in Pisces? So one of the things that I'm immediately thinking of is dealing with Piscean negative traits. Right? Saturn will come in as this judge, or not necessarily a judge, but like he's going to come in and he's going to test some of the structures. I feel like there's a name for that. Like a restaurant. What is the person who goes into restaurants and checks the quality of food? Do let me know if you guys know. But it's going to come in and it's going to reveal things that are not working. So there's going to be an opportunity to set something aside, to let some things go. There's going to be also a lot of focus on maybe letting go of bad habits, escapist tendencies, addressing any negative habits like drinking too much, eating too much, overindulging, right? Like Pisces can spill out. It's really hard sometimes to keep boundaries in check in Pisces. Additionally, we're gonna get a chance to slow down because Pisces is a sign of dreams and rest and spirituality. And we're going to get a chance to bring some of that into our life. If you're feeling like something is missing and you're lacking that support, you're lacking the community, you're lacking the faith, right? And faith doesn't need to be religion. For some, maybe it is, but for others, it could be about astrological community. Just a quick shout out once more. I am teaching a course. It begins on September 6th, and you can build a community. You can learn astrology and you can gain knowledge that will help you throughout your entire life. You can register at Anastasia.astrology.com. But finding purpose, right? Finding meaning, finding something maybe less tangible, but still really important will be a topic. We may get a chance to address our fears and process some of our losses or some of our wounds, tend to the more tender parts of ourselves and heal the tender parts of ourselves, as well as Saturn and Pisces will give you a chance to finish some of the creative projects, some of the imaginative works that you've maybe pursued but haven't fully completed yet. Good morning, Nebula. Aquarius rising here. We have 2 Aquarius risings as of right now, at least 2. So it's going to be interesting, especially interesting because, like I said, it's about finishing those chapters that began all the way in March 2023. So I'd be curious for you to share if, as we go through the rising signs, you remember what kind of progress you've made in this part of your chart. Saturn in Pisces is interesting because sometimes it may feel really hard to set boundaries with these nebulous emotional things, right? It's like, well, I feel sadness. How do I cage my sadness in, or how do I process things? And so sometimes Saturn in Pisces will encourage you like, okay, maybe you need help. Maybe you need a group of people that supports you. Maybe you need a therapist. Maybe you need a cry session once in a while, every Sunday, whatever it might be. It will be deeply personal. Let me get back to my chart and hopefully it shares it fine. Okay. So let me see. Okay. Let me see. I feel like there was something else I was going to say. So September 1st, it comes back to Pisces. September 21st is worth mentioning because on the 21st of September, we're going to have our solar eclipse in Virgo in opposition to Saturn in Pisces. So being in Virgo season, having Saturn in Pisces, having the eclipse in Pisces on the 7th, having the second eclipse in Virgo opposite Saturn is going to be very involved this month. It's going to make you it's going to pin the realism of life and perfectionism and the details and the logistics against the faith and dreams, and it's likely going to reveal where you're lacking faith and where you need more faith, as well as where you're relying only on your dreams and you're not doing a lot of work. So it's a month of important discoveries, I think, and reality checks, especially at the time of around September 21st, 3 days before, 3 days after, as the sun opposes Saturn, suggesting that certain dreams will get tested. Okay, so we're going to break it down for the 12 rising signs. If you have any questions, if you want a personal reading or you feel ready to invest into yourself, study astrology, visit Anastasia.astrology.com. You can book a reading as well as register for my course. We're only 8 days away. I am super thrilled. It's my, it's my child. It's something I've invested years into studying astrology, practicing astrology. So being able to share it with you guys is one of the greatest gifts. And I think I'm also looking forward to like learning from you because I think it's going to be fun. So for those of you who want to study astrology, Anastasia does astrology, go to my services and you'll be able to see the course there. So, okay. We're going to go through the 12 rising signs, starting with Aries risings. Let me just pull up my, I'm just going to find the timestamps portion so I can also save it and have timestamps ready by the time we are wrapping up. So let me know also at this point if you have any questions. I mean, I am going to do a rundown through the 12 signs, so you can also save the questions for later, just in case I answer them when I go through your rising sign. I do recommend listening to your rising sign because rising sign is the portion, it's like the beginning of your chart. It's the helm of the ship. It determines the direction the ship goes. And so in a way, it determines, it basically determines how the transits fall. Okay, where are we here? So we're going to start with Aries rising. For Aries rising, Saturn is returning into your 12th house. So the domain of spirituality, mental health, self-defeating tendencies, bad habits. Can you see everything? Okay, we're gonna move much smoothly, I promise, once all of this gets figured out. Okay, Aries rising. Bear with me. So, okay, Aries rising, Saturn returns to the 12th house. Like I said, the house of spirituality, mental health, self-defeating tendencies. So very much there is a sense here of, I am just looking at the messages that tells me that the chart gets disconnected and then reconnected back. I don't know why, but I think it should be fine. Okay, Aries rising. Aries rising. So Saturn in the 12th is going to highlight any self-defeating tendencies and bad habits that you haven't fully processed and addressed. This could be overindulgence. This could be poor boundaries, forgiving people who don't deserve it. Anything where you're being too welcoming, too generous, too self-sacrificing, too self-compromising, right? Like, where do you lose yourself? Where are you defeating yourself for the sake of being too nice and generous and supportive maybe of people, because there might be an opportunity to release some of that. Saturn in the 12th house is also really good for spiritual discovery. It's going to encourage you to go within or to prioritize mental health and mental peace. And so there might be opportunities with Saturn in Pisces to explore yoga, to explore therapy, to go to some kind of faraway place. What's interesting is, of course, the eclipses, right? I feel like you can't talk about Saturn and Pisces without mentioning the eclipses. It's really interesting that we're having eclipses in North Node in your 12th and 6th, because on the larger level, Aries rising, you're moving away from working really hard and sweating and grinding and suffering and struggling for something to a more balanced approach, right? Like Saturn going back into your 12th house is an opportunity to create more balance and peace and kind of chill energy in your life. Do share how this resonates. If Saturn in the 12th house is encouraging you to study astrology, join my course. It begins on September 6th, and you can register at anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also book a personal reading on there. Okay. I have too many screens going at the same time, and it's confusing me. If you are a Taurus rising, Saturn is entering your 11th house. And with Saturn in the 11th house, we're looking at friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams. And at first, it is retrograde, right? Until November 27th. And then it goes direct between November 27th and February 13th, 2026. And so there may be some finishing touches, and do reflect on what did Saturn bring here from the moment it first entered Pisces in March 2023. But Saturn retrograde suggests a need to rethink some relationships, to rethink your role in the world, to rethink your friendships potentially, maybe set some boundaries with friends. There may be some friendships and relationships you're going to have to release if they do not feel supportive and caring and kind and just don't feel right to you. There might be an opportunity to set something or someone aside, let something go. 11th house also represents dreams and pursuits that you have, and especially those that relate to serving others, that relate to finding a meaning in it all. So Saturn returning into your 11th house might suggest that maybe it's time to finish some of those group projects. Maybe it's time to review some of the work that you've been doing. Let's say you're a writer, right? And Saturn comes into your 11th house, and maybe there is some editing, some polishing that you need to do before you're ready to present your work to the world. Yeah, and like readjusting, fine-tuning your friendships, your community, your social circle, right? Even your relationship with social media and how much time you spend on social media, I can see here. And if Saturn in the 11th encourages you to find more spiritual, more soulful community, my course, Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul, begins on September 6th, and you can still register. Don't miss out. Study astrology and develop friendships and connections with people who are like-minded and spiritually focused as you are. If you are a Gemini rising, here we have Saturn entering your 10th house of public life, career, status, reputation, your most visible part of life. Saturn first entered Pisces in March 2023. What got started in your career sector? Maybe that was the time you started working on a really big project. Maybe you started a business. Maybe you started feeling frustrated by your professional situation. Saturn coming in for the final, what are we, September, October, November, December, January, the final 5.5 months is an opportunity to finish what got started. Maybe you're reworking some of your professional projects and wrapping things up. Maybe you're dealing with some oppressive authority figures, oppressive bosses, or people that are delaying you and slowing you down. And until November 27th, Saturn is retrograde, and it's likely more about reviewing. But then after November 27th and until February 13th, it's direct. And it can actually be quite a rewarding time for you, because that might be the time when you're tying the loose ends and you're getting the results of these last 2.5 years where Saturn has been in your 10th. Maybe you've been studying something, maybe you've been taking care of something or someone, and Saturn completing its stay in Pisces could be the finishing, the ending of it can definitely be quite supporting. And do let me know if you remember, or you can kind of reflect on what Saturn being here brought for you. I know one Cancer rising that has been struggling with work matters, where like, she got a promotion, but she didn't get any hours. It's like a weird combination of like, you can make more money, but we don't really have any work for you. For those of you who want to learn astrology, join my Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul course. It begins on September 6th, so very, very soon. And you will discover the blueprint of your soul, learn astrology, learn to read charts, and can improve your relationships in the process. If you are a Cancer rising, oh, this was Gemini rising. Sorry. We were doing Gemini rising. Cancer rising is next. So I got confused for a second. Saturn in Pisces confused me. So all of that was Gemini rising, which if I said Cancer, I did say Cancer. So forgive me. That example doesn't apply here. So if you are a Cancer rising, Saturn is coming back into your 9th house. And with Saturn returning into the 9th house is the domain of education, travel, writing, publishing, and legal matters. Saturn has first entered here in March 2023. What did it bring for you, Cancer risings? Did it maybe encourage you to study? Did it maybe encourage you to write? Sometimes Saturn in the 9th could be about taking on a really long writing project or studying, right? Like beginning a course of study, like starting to write your dissertation, something that will maybe take you a couple of years. It could also brought up legal matters, some kind of legal battle that you were involved in, or applying for schools, right? Dealing with foreign people, just a lot of paperwork and logistics and hard work connected to that. So now that Saturn comes back, it is another opportunity to tie all of your loose ends and wrap things up and maybe complete that writing project, right? Like finish that educational matter, that paper, that dissertation that you've been writing. Figure out maybe you're finishing a course of study, you're becoming a teacher, because Saturn is, even it already started going into your 10th house of career. So it's the question here is like, what do I believe? What is of value to me? And with Saturn in Pisces, maybe it's spiritual fulfillment. Maybe it's about spiritual studies. My astrology course begins on September 6th. Could be a great time to join and study and discover meaning behind your life and your karmic purpose. So it could definitely be directing you towards something that's more meaningful for you. And this will be different for everyone. If you want to learn astrology or you want to get a personal reading, visit my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Also, do let me know if you remember what Saturn entering Pisces in March was about for you. And for people who are watching it live, can you say something in the chat just to make sure it's working? Because I've been getting messages saying that it's not working. And I just want to make sure that everything is still fine. So please say hi if you can, if you're able to, just to see that everything is okay. If you are a Leo rising, for Leo rising, Saturn is returning into your 8th house. With the 8th house, we're looking at the house of shared finances, partners' money, resources, contracts, agreements you're sharing with other people. It's also the house of inheritance, of taxes, debts, loans. So Saturn first entered your 8th house in March 2023. Thank you for saying hi. I'm glad the chat is working. What was happening in your sector of debts and karmic entanglements with other people, and even when it comes to relationships, what did this bring for you? Saturn coming back for another 5 months is an opportunity to clear everything that is unprocessed yet, right? Let's say you got a loan out. Maybe Saturn returns and you're finishing things up, right? You're paying it off. Maybe you've realized, yeah, you had a debt and you started paying it off. Again, Saturn here, it could be the time you set a clear schedule for yourself, you finish paying things off, you kind of close this financial chapter. Additionally, 8th house is not just about money. It's anything from energy and pain and like loss that maybe we haven't processed, to actual promises we made to people, or like debts we owe to them, or even spiritual unspoken agreements we have with other people. It's very obvious if somebody has a debt, right? But it's a lot more complicated if it's about your relationship with your mother and your sense that you can't travel because you need to be close to your mother as she's getting older, right? There might be a lot of these kind of spoken, unspoken situations that you're working through. And it could also be about your partner and their finances and what they're going through, if they've been struggling financially at all, or if you've been. Saturn being in the 8th sometimes suggests that we are navigating all of these heavy questions around, what do you owe me? What do I owe you? So Saturn returning here can definitely offer a chance to break away from some of the agreements that feel heavy and difficult, or the opposite can be true as well. Maybe you're committing to taking care of your loved ones. Maybe you're committing to figuring things out with your partner who told you they have a debt or something like that. So it could be also potentially building, helping and supporting the relationships. And for those of you who want to learn astrology and who want to invest in your self-improvement, join my course, Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul, begins September 6th. Don't miss out. You can register at anastasia.astrology.com. You can also book a personal consultation on there. Moving on to Virgo rising. If you are a Virgo rising, Saturn is entering your 7th house, the house of relationships, partnerships, contracts, and agreements. Also the house of the partner, the house of the other person. It could be your romantic partner, it could be your business partner. It could also be some other very significant one-on-one relationship that you have in your life. Again, Saturn first came here in March 2023. What did it bring into your relationships? Did it bring hardship to your partner? Did it bring change in the partner's life that encouraged you to work through it? Or did it inspire you to leave a relationship and go off on your own? Maybe it brought a new relationship into your life. So Saturn is going to complete a lot of these chapters, right? The next 5 months are all about tying up the loose ends and letting go. Maybe you're healing from heartache. Maybe you're transforming some kind of breakup into a book. Saturn and Pisces can be quite creative. Maybe you're setting boundaries. Maybe you're revisiting challenges you faced in a relationship and figuring out how to move forward. Saturn is going to spend 2 years, even more, in your 8th house, which suggests a need to examine how you share with your partner. So Saturn will ask you a question like, is this person, is this contract, is this agreement worth my time? Is it worth my energy? Do I want to invest into this? And if no, it will give you a chance to free yourself. But if it is worth investing into, then maybe it's the time to figure things out, commit to something. Commitment is another big possibility here, especially if you've been, if you've been growing together with your partner. Saturn returning to your seventh house can be, okay, we've overcome this. Let's get married, or let's move in together. Let's have a child. So some important relationship growth can be seen through this transit. For those of you Virgo risings who want to learn more, who want to improve yourself, I know you love improving yourself, register for my natal astrology course at anastasiadoesastrology.com. It begins September 6th, and you'll join a group of awesome people, myself included. You will discover your chart, you'll learn how to read it, and build a foundation that will continue guiding you through your entire life. You won't need an astrologer because you'll be one. You don't even need to be a professional astrologer. It's still pretty great. Next, we have Libra rising. For Libra rising, Saturn is returning to your sixth house, the house of work, health, service, blood, sweat, and tears. What is quite nice, though, is that there is support from Jupiter being in your house of career. So the projects you're bleeding on, sweating on, working hard on, they're all designed to progress your life, right? Bring something into your life. So Saturn first went into Pisces in March 2023. Have you noticed your workload increasing? Have you noticed needing boundaries? Have you noticed maybe health issues, right? Saturn returning here for the final 5.5 months is your opportunity to wrap things up. Health-wise, if you've been dealing with some kind of ongoing, repeating, chronic situation, right? Saturn coming here could be like, this is what you need to do. This is the surgery you need to do. This is like, it could bring culmination and release and sort of figuring things out, which is quite positive, I think, even if it sounds a little scary, if it requires some development like a surgery. But Saturn in the sixth could bring attention to your health, your feet, right? Saturn is in Pisces. Pisces rules feet. Professionally, a reward for a project that you've been working on, maybe something that got started back in March 2023, something you've committed to, or a job you started, or a product you launched, or something else. Saturn here for the next 5 months could be about getting rewards and feeling a sense of accomplishment and having reworked things and problem solved and addressed matters. Let's say it's even something in your house, right? Like you've been working on redesigning your garden. And so Saturn returns here and you're like, I finally feel happy with the way it looks. So yeah, professionally can be rewarding. Projects can be completing that you've been working on. Focus on health. The eclipses are very much activating your axis of mental health and physical health. And so Saturn tells you that your physical health is tied to your mental health and you can't have one without the other. Do share if you remember what Saturn brought starting March 2023. And for those seeking more, for those ready to level up your astrological knowledge, register for my natal astrology blueprint of the soul course. Begins September 6th, very, very soon. And you still have time. Sign up. Okay, let's continue going. For Scorpio rising, Saturn is returning to your fifth house for the final 5 months. The sector of romance, play, pleasure, parenthood, children, sexy times. Saturn has entered this house in March 2023. So do look back. Do let me know what was happening here. Sometimes Saturn comes in and it takes away fun because you're tending to a young child or you're working on a project that takes a lot of your time, right? There might be some kind of development that is very Saturnian. Now that Saturn has been here for over 2 years, you would have figured things out. And so maybe you have better plan around fun and pleasure and sex and dating and things like that. So Saturn coming here may encourage you to put some finishing touches here, right? We have Scorpio rising, flash knowings. Hello, hello. So, yeah, so when it comes to pleasure, Saturn can be the time you realize that you need to be structured about it, right? Like you want to date. Well, you need to make sure you have time for it. You need to make sure you're happy with your schedule, or you're clear about what you want, right? So Saturn can be like, okay, how can we improve our love life? If you have a child and you want to be intimate or be close with your partner, it can also be about like, okay, let's make sure we go on dates every Tuesday, twice a month, or every week, something like that. There might also be a sense of completion coming your way, where you're finishing a creative project, where you're wrapping up some type of long-term baby that you've been working on. It could be a literal child. It can also suggest that if you're a child, if you are a parent to an older child, if your child has been going through some growing pains, it could bring rewards their way and maybe more finally stability their way. And if you've been working on a creative baby, then this might be the time that your creative baby gets seen and gets rewarded and gets appreciated. I remember Saturn being in my fifth house, and that was the time when I were like actively working while like I had to sort of combine work with pleasure. And it was pretty difficult, but eventually I figured it out by like taking lunch breaks and filming short videos at the time. Um, Jazz is saying, I'm a Libra rising, but this is resonating much more, maybe because it's the 25 degrees. You're saying I got pregnant in 2023. Well, if you got pregnant in 2023, having this activate your sixth house also makes sense, because then it's about like grinding, right? And like working on something. And so that could also mean being a parent and spending a lot of time taking care of a young child and maybe feeling burdened on some level while you're also happy and excited about being a mom. So Scorpio risings, do let me know if, for those of you who also got pregnant maybe or started working on something. I do know a Scorpio rising who gave birth last year, so she's been definitely enjoying it, but also I think figuring things out. For those of you who want to learn more, I'm going to mention this again. Register for my course, begins September 6th, and you will learn how to read natal charts. You will learn how to speak the language of astrology and discover more confidence and self-empowerment in the process. For the lovely Sagittarius rising, Saturn is coming back to your fourth house, home, family, living situation. What was happening? What started happening in your life in March 2023 when Saturn first entered? Sorry, moving. When Saturn first entered your fourth house, maybe you've noticed an increase in responsibilities around your home. Maybe you started working on selling your home and renovating and maybe looking at making it look better. There could have been just an increase of responsibilities around home and family. Maybe even some, if a family member passed away, maybe there could have been some loss and pain and processing of heavy feelings that you had to do. Please share if this is what happened. So now that Saturn is coming back, it is the final chapter of the story, right? The epilogue on many levels, but not quite, a little bit extra. So this is going to offer you an opportunity to finish things up. You've been doing a home improvement project, you finish it, you breathe out a sigh of relief. You've been dealing with a family difficulty. A family member has been struggling with their health. They get over their health issue and you feel more free. And if you've been working on selling a property or buying a property or paying off maybe even a loan, right? With Jupiter being in the eighth, this could be the time you pay it off. You pay off your mortgage, you find a seller for your house, or you buy a property that you feel happy with. If you felt ready to move, but you weren't able to move because, again, of some heavy question, responsibility, difficulty, maybe now you're able to open things up and move on and actually move, if that is what you're thinking about. There is lovely energy, I think, with Jupiter being in your eighth house, your chart ruler, being exalted in the house of support, receiving an inheritance, receiving some kind of support from a family member is also possible. Do share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, register for my course, begins September 6th, or book a personal reading. You can do all of that on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. For the beautiful Capricorn rising, Saturn is entering your third house for the last 5 months, for the final finishing 5 months. It first entered your third house in March 2023. And maybe you started working on something. Maybe you've noticed an increase in like responsibilities and maybe some heaviness around your thoughts because there was too much to do, too many things to learn. Like this is someone starting a course of study or somebody updating their software at their job and having to learn a brand new language. There could have been a sense of dissatisfaction with your everyday life and your commitments, right? And so Saturn coming here the last 5 months will offer you a chance to wrap things up if there's anything unfinished here. So if you've been learning something, if you've been writing something, right? Third house could also be like writing a book, a manuscript, manual, a novel, whatever it is. Saturn could be like, okay, I'm going to edit this a little bit and I am ready to show it to the world. If you've been working through some heavy thinking or some patterns of thought, speech impediment, anything, even like difficulties involving siblings or neighbors, this could be really good for that because Saturn is entering the finishing degrees, right? It still has a bit of a loop to do as it retrogrades and then comes back to exit Pisces in February 2023. But it could be a completion of like a fight with a sibling or a matter involving a sibling, even something like let's say a sibling has been struggling. Saturn coming back here could be like, okay, they figured it out finally. Changing your schedule, setting better boundaries, maybe even getting enough confidence to go off on your own and start a business or start some kind of personal project. All of that is a possibility here. It could inspire you also to level up your knowledge maybe and to gain some new skills if you feel like that will make your life easier and kind of create a better flow in your life. Speaking of new skills, Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul, my course begins on September 6th. You still can register. Sign up at anastasiadoesastrology.com. On my website, you can also book a personal reading. So let me know, Capricorn risings, how this resonates for you. And definitely look back at March 2023. If you are an Aquarius rising, Saturn is returning into your second house of money and values. First entered here in March 2023. What did it bring? Did it bring maybe big investment or some kind of restriction to your finances? Did you maybe quit a job, lose a job, or just your promotion got delayed? There could have been some kind of financial sacrifice or slowdown. It's not, Saturn in the second house is not necessarily going to like fire you, but it could suggest that there is less cash to go around for whatever reason. Maybe you, like I said, maybe you bought a property and you made an investment. So it's like something that you've inflicted on yourself. But it could be It could be something else. Okay, we have Nebula, who's an Aquarius rising, saying May 2023, I lost my job. So there we go. Sometimes it happens, right? Saturn can be harsh when it comes to the second house. Like when it was happening for me, I was stuck at a salary that was below what I was like worth, and it was quite objectively below what I was making to the company. And if had I been free, had I been like not under a contract with them and like waiting for my green card, I could have been free to go and just work directly for that company. So sometimes it clamps down how much you can make or how much money you have. And so Saturn comes here for the last approach, the last 5 months, and it offers you a chance to come up with a solution, right? It offers you a chance to find a better paying job. It offers you a chance also on many levels, just build your inner confidence and realize that you don't need other people to approve of you. You don't always need other people to pay you, because maybe you can start your own business. Maybe you can study astrology with Anastasia and become an astrologer, and who cares? You are your own boss now. But like there may be a lot of opportunities to like make improvements and set better boundaries in terms of how much you spend and how much you make, and maybe find some authority figures or some people that can help you figure out your finances. So it's both about money, but it's also about self-worth, right? And I think when Saturn comes into the second house in March, when it first went in there, and for the last 2 years, there could be a sense that like you're feeling like you're not getting recognized and appreciated for all you can offer to a company, a job, a situation. But Saturn teaches you that what is more important is how much you value yourself. So there might also be some interesting lessons here, and very much opportunities to commit to something that's like more spiritual, more soulful, more interesting to you. Perhaps you lost the job for a reason, right? Because there's maybe an opportunity to find work that is more interesting to you. If you're looking for more, you can book a reading or register for my course at anastasiadoesastrology.com. The course is 8 days away, September 6th. So register before you blink and you miss it. And it's going to last 3 months too. So it's like I think it's a good amount of time, because it's not too much, but it's also not too short. So you'll actually get to learn a lot. Okay, Nebula is saying May 2023, I lost my job. September 2024, I found a job. So it's like a long period, right? A year and 5 months to be out of work. March 2025, my boss got fired, and it was mayhem. Worked for the federal government, so I got a new job. And you were saying, oh, 100%. I assume that means that you're like talking about self-worth part of it. And it's so interesting too, I feel like, as I get older, to look back at these transits and to be like, oh wow, this is exactly what was happening to me. Like I really remember Saturn in the second house vividly, because I was so frustrated with my financial situation. And like I didn't start making less. I was just stuck by a boss that was like, well, I'm not going to give you a raise because blah 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 blah. And I was like, but then it got, at the end, it got, I got like a new job, and I got almost like, I think like a 200 pay increase. So it's all worth it. I think like it's worth to keep pushing. So Nebula, I wish you patience through all of it, because you can make it through. And we only have the beautiful Pisces left. So if you are a Pisces rising, Saturn is coming into your first house, your house of health, your house of identity, your house of image, style, and personality. And so Saturn went in here in March 2023. It could have increased pressure on your time, just a sense of so much work, so much to do, new baby, busy workload, a relationship. There's just no time to rest. It could have created health issues. My boyfriend is a Pisces rising. In March, he injured his knee, and he had one surgery in 2023, and he's about to have his second surgery right as Saturn is returning into his first house. How literal, right? Like how much more literal can you get with astrology? And I'm like, if you're skeptical about it, like, how can you be after things like that? And for those of you who want to investigate things more and like learn astrology and be able to read charts, register for my course. Begins on September 6th. You can register at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Don't miss out. It's going to be a blast. So Pisces risings, completing these chapters involving health, right? Maybe finishing something up. You've been dealing with an issue that first started bothering you in 2023, like back pain that you didn't give much attention to. And then maybe now you figure out practice of yoga or some kind of exercise, physical therapy that you do to feel better. Maybe you've been feeling overwhelmed and stressed and pressured, and this could be the time you let go of some of the stresses and responsibilities. Maybe you even make some changes to your life to find a better equilibrium, better balance, processing things you haven't processed, healing, maybe even emotional wounds or emotional challenges could be likely. And what else? First house. Yeah, like you're a Pisces rising, so you naturally have this kind of wise, sage, spiritual, creative energy to you. So Saturn coming here could also force you to take responsibility for yourself, right? It's the biggest lesson of Saturn in the first house is like, if you don't take care of you, nobody will. So Saturn comes here for like 2.5 years, starting March 2023. And through experiences, through work, through pressures around health, through like responsibilities, difficulties, obstructions, it teaches you that you are your top priority. You have to be your best ally. And so Saturn returning here could be about that, right? Like it could be the final 5 months in which you set boundaries around your time. You say no to things that do not help you. You let go of some like perfectionism, whatever it might be, and you figure things out. Congo is a Pisces rising, says no health issue. Jupiter's in my 6th house. That is a lovely placement. Helps with health for sure. And you're saying yes, stress on the relationship and wants. What is wants? Maybe a typo, but I'm not sure what you mean. So yeah, so it's like it's about prioritizing yourself. It's about setting better boundaries. It's also examining where are you being Saturnian, like where you're being your own enemy, right? Where are you being too harsh? Where are you being too sort of no, it's not going to work? Where are you doubting yourself? Because there might also be an opportunity to release that and be more playful and joyful with Jupiter being your chart ruler and currently being exalted in the house of pleasure and play. So maybe it's an opportunity to also remember that like things don't have to be so serious all the time, that you can have some fun in the process. And register for my course if you want. Book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Let me know how this resonates. Somehow these lives always end up being a lot longer than when I'm recording them on my own, which kind of makes sense. But I like them anyways because we get to chit chat and connect. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I am going to wrap up. I hope you enjoy the Labor Day weekend. If you're in the US, we have Labor Day coming up, means Monday is off. And I hope the rest of your August is a lot of fun. And I'll see you very soon. I have some videos coming up. So thank you for watching, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.